We are live. It is season 3,
Episode 4.
which is crazy. I feel like this season
Absolutely
in
crazy.
general, and I'm not even just talking like podcast seasons, I mean like season of life
Oh
is
yeah. It's a whole lot going
It's
on.
a trying season, I'll tell you that.
Oh
yes,
yes, you never
yes.
lied.
Come
It's a
on
tough
and preach.
season.
Hallelujah. Yes, it is. But we are coming up on due season, hopefully.
Yes. If we making it through, we're gonna make it out better than ever.
Yes, we are. And I'm super duper excited today, tonight, whatever you want to call it. If you guys don't know by now, we record at night because we have children. But I'm
Mhm.
super excited tonight because we have a very special guest, and it's my sister.
Yay!
Yay, my sister Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn.
Hi, Briana. Hi, Erica. Everybody.
Hello. Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So today or tonight, we are going to be talking about school age children. So this season, I know the first 3 episodes, it was still Aryka and I rocking and rolling, talking about what we know, that newborn life all the way up to age 2 and 3. And then we shared some of the things that we just could not live without. But, you know, there's still a lot about parenting that we don't know. And so for the
Hmm.
rest of the season, we kind of want to explore some of that area. And we want to start with school age kids. So Erica's son, I know Elijah is already in school.
Yeah, preschool, but yeah.
Yeah, with homework and all type of stuff. I'm
Yeah.
still
Homework in preschool?
Homework in preschool, ma'am. Literally, it's homework for me, more really.
Yeah, of
But
course.
it's homework already.
I'm trying to find something like that for Trey next year. We're working on the potty training so that he can caw, he can go and be great.
Yes.
And I can stop paying all this money for daycare.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I know that there is a difference, in all stages of a child's life, but I think that school age stage is very special and especially hard in some ways because it's that first time that you really have to send them out into the world without you. Like they're in school all day, they have teachers and they start to make their own friends and they really have more of a level of maturity where I think that that actually means something. Like I know Trey has friends at school now, but like when we get home, he's not always like he's telling me about these kids, but he's not really, really telling me about them. He's just like
Right.
repeating what he hears at school, etc. So I'm really excited to have my sister here because she does have a school age child. And Jocelyn, I'll let you talk more about yourself, but I'm really, really excited about the rest of the season and the opportunity to talk to people who have kids that are older than our kids so that we can hopefully learn some things. So,
Yeah, it's well, yes, I'm Brianna's sister. My name is Jocelyn. I have a 10-year-old son. He's in 5th grade. So next year we're going to middle school, big boy school. It's about to get real. Um,
Hmm.
Having a school age child is a journey. It's good times, it's challenges, it's uh, some bad times. And I think it's just a journey. You have to be ready to just kind of ride the wave
mm,
and make sure that through everything you're supportive and you show love because it's really a journey for both of you. And it almost takes you back to when you were in school.
Yeah.
mm.
And you can kind of use your experiences to try to relate to your baby while they're going through it.
That's such a good point. I think that's such a good point because, like, when they're 2 and 3 and 4 years old, like, I don't remember being 2. I don't
Hmm.
remember learning how to be potty trained. I don't remember any of this stuff. I actually just had this, like, kind of epiphany last week, or not even epiphany, but I just reminded myself, like, I am a teacher. Like, I was
Mhm.
getting
Hmm.
frustrated with Trey for something, and I was like, "But he doesn't know that." Like, yeah, I might have
Yeah.
told him a few times, but it's not just something that he fundamentally knows like I do because
Hmm.
he's 34, he's 2.
Right.
Like, instead of getting frustrated, I'm allowed to be frustrated, but, like, what brought me out of that frustrated space was like, "Well, then teach him. Show him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Don't just keep telling him." And I think that point about kind of rewinding to how it was for us when we were in school or when we were that age, that's probably the first time for a lot of people where, like, your earliest memories are. I think my earliest memory is probably around, like, kindergarten, 1st grade, like 5, 6.
Yeah, I would say mine too. I definitely remember specific things happening in kindergarten, but like nothing before that.
Same.
Yeah, I think I remember all the way back to probably kindergarten, first grade. And while it's great for you to be able to rewind and relate to your child, there's also a fine line. You don't want to project, is the word I'll use, what you went through or what you experienced, because you still want to make sure that your child has their own experience, because they're a different person than you. So they're a separate person from you.
Yeah.
You got to be aware of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the times are different. Would you say, because obviously, you know, us growing up in the 90s and early 2000s is totally different from what children have to deal with now. Would you say you see a major difference in things he's had to go through throughout elementary school, that differ from what you went through when you were in elementary school?
Curriculum wise, yes, it's all
Okay.
digital. Like
Wow.
there's no books, there's no,
That's
everything is iPad, Chromebook, smart boards. You know, we had a chalkboard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we had an overhead projector. They don't have any of that. You know, when they rolled that TV in on wheels, we knew it was going to be a good day. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they don't have any of that. They're, you know, taking tests on iPads. And so curriculum wise, yeah, different. As far as the kids, no, kids are kids. And it's still some of the same things that he's going through that I went through, you know, good and bad.
Okay.
That's so interesting that, because I think, I mean, that just proves the point that like human nature is still the same. Like, even though the whole world is different, to your point, Jocelyn, like with technology and even just like the way that they're learning things, like they don't even teach cursive anymore, which is wild to me.
It's
Like, I was,
crazy.
yeah, that's crazy because I want to meet, like, I need to find someone that is like of this era and like, but old enough, like a teenager, like a young adult, and be like, so what do you do when you have to sign a check? Or when you
Exactly.
have to sign a contract? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you just print?
And they don't even, some of them don't even know what cursive is. It's like you spoke a foreign language when you
Right.
ask them about
Mm-hmm.
cursive.
And it's like everything's going to be DocuSign. So, but still, I mean, I feel like, what if the whole entire world just shuts off? Like, you have to know how to write your name in cursive.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's
You
so
know,
true.
you got to know how to count your money, all of that stuff. But these are things that they're not really teaching anymore because everything is digital, everything is technology.
So to that point, how have you, Jocelyn, with Isaiah being 10 now, almost, oops, sorry. If you don't want him to say, us to say his name, we can edit it out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's fine.
With Isaiah being 10 now, about to be 11, in fifth grade, moving into sixth, like from the time that he's been school age up until now, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest similarities to like what you've experienced or what you felt like you experienced growing up? And what are some of the differences? I'm interested because I think that it's also very different for girls versus boys. Like the
Mhm.
thing, but a lot of it can be the same too. So I'm interested to hear your perspective on that.
For me back then, it was just wanting to be like, some of the similarities for me back then, what I see with him is wanting to be accepted, wanting to be a part of the cool crowd, wanting to have friends and be well liked. I noticed that Isaiah will go out of his way to have a friend. He'll overly give. He will bend over backwards to fit in, you know. And then when he doesn't fit in, or when if there's a bully or if there's somebody who's being mean to him, he's really upset by it. And I went through that as a kid too.
Mm,
What's different for boys is that I think they're, well, for girls, it's all about being like girly and dainty and having the hottest fashion and, you know, keeping up with the next person. For boys, I think, I mean, I'm not a boy. So, you know what I mean? I
yeah.
think from what I see with him, I think it's all about being the best. It's always a competition.
Mm.
You know, I have to be the winner. I have to have the most this or the most that. So I see that with him too. And then, I'm sorry, your other question was again?
Well, no, I was just, I think you answered it. Like, what are the major differences that you see? And then I guess my follow-up question is like, how do you, because that's something that at 2 years old, I don't have to deal with. Like Trey lives in his own little world. Like he's not even aware or does or cares about what the other little boys have on at school or like whether or not they're getting X for Christmas or like all of that stuff that I think all kids, boys and girls, care about. But like you said, kind of like deal with it in different ways. Like he cares not. So I'm just interested, since he started to have some of these experiences, what are some of the ways that you've just kind of, like you said, rode the wave with him? Like, what are some of your not even tips or tricks, but like what are some of the ways that you've been able to kind of hold his hand through that?
You have to validate them. I think it's really important to make sure that he knows no matter what you have or don't have, no matter who you fit in with or don't fit in with, you're enough. Like none of like and to let him know that in 10 years, none of that matters. And that's not to invalidate his feelings because of course his feelings are valid, but like these are not the important things. You know,
Right.
who has the latest Fortnite game or the most V-Bucks or the cleanest Nikes on. That doesn't matter. What matters is the type of person you are, you know, how hard you work, and you know, the person you come out to be. That's what matters. You know, how good you are to your friends. You know, your personality matters. None of these material things or competitive things, that's not what's important. So making sure that he knows what's really important is kind of my main goal.
Yeah.
That's really important. I'm sure that was something that you started early with him too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I've even had to see myself doing that with Elijah. I mean, he's only 3 and he's in preschool, but he's now in the phase. Well, one day at school, we went to pick him up, and another little girl got a sticker. Like if they have a good day, they get a sticker or a stamp on their hand. And he saw the other little girl had a sticker on her hand, and he's like, "She has a sticker. I didn't get my sticker. I need my sticker." So of course I'm like, okay, well then let's go ask for it and talk to your teacher. And he was able to get it. But I start seeing now he does start to kind of compare things, or he always feels like he needs to have what he sees somebody else. Because now these kids, they watch these little videos on YouTube of kids playing with toys.
Yeah.
I try to stop Elijah from watching, but he somehow finds them always. And it's something we're really working on to let him know that it's like you don't need all those things and you don't need to have what everybody else has to be happy. So it's good to see that we obviously are having to start young with it, but it's something that we have to continue to reinforce as they get older as well.
And it's such a hard concept to teach because I think that's human nature. Like what somebody like at the restaurant, you sitting there trying to decide what you want to order, and somebody ooh, what she got over there?
Yeah, that looks
good. Like, what is that? Where is that on the menu? Let me go ahead and get what she got over there. Like it's human nature to notice the things around us, and then that influences what we may desire or how we may feel. So for a child that's like just pure emotion and so impressionable too, like how do you, because even with Trey, it's not so much him wanting it because other people have it. He just, if he sees anything and he wants it, and he doesn't understand why he can't have it. Like we went to the mall yesterday and I'm a sucker. So he's very into Paw Patrol right now. And even though there's hella, Santa's bringing him a lot of Paw Patrol, I took him to Build-A-Bear and he built a Paw Patrol character. And then on the way out, fell out because he wanted Black Panther too. And I said no.
It sounded about right.
And I had to let him know, like, sir, I was actually getting upset because I was like, do you know this $100 stuffed animal you just got?
But he got to have all of them.
Right. So I had to let him know. I was like, you have to be grateful. And then I have to explain what being grateful is. And I think that's hard enough, but to do it when there's an added layer of, but when I go to school, because I used to have this bad, like I had this even into my adulthood, like seeing other people with things that I couldn't get or couldn't afford, or my mom said no, or whatever would like devastate me inside. I would just feel like I remember when I got my first pair of Air Force Ones in high school, like I thought I was like, until I was like, those aren't even the right ones. Someone told me, and I was just like,
right.
Now, who gives a shit? Like in that moment, it's so important to them. And I think at that age, when you're like between, especially at Isaiah's age, because he's on the brink of like
preteen.
Yeah, where it really matters because
especially in middle school. Middle school is tough.
Yeah, middle school
it's rugged. Like, and to go back to what I was saying, like you just want to fit in. You want to have friends. You want to be a part of the team. You want to be a part of the camp. You want to have your clique, and that's natural. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you go to such lengths of, I got to have this, I got to have that to fit in, it can become a problem when you start to think, if I don't have that, then I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to feel like that,
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's also not to cut you off. It's also that you have to teach that it is good and you should want to be an individual and
Mm-hmm.
not just be the same as everybody else, wear the same things, do the same things, be into the same things. It's okay to have your own things that you like. And, everybody else may be wearing Air Force Ones, but you want to wear these shoes because you like
Right.
them, and that's okay. But that, I think, is something that you don't think about, especially in elementary and middle school, because being an individual is what can sometimes get you made fun of or
Yeah.
bullied or any of that.
It's not
Yeah.
the cool thing to be an individual or to
Right.
stand out. And then, like with you guys having younger kids, just what I've seen, from my sister and people with younger kids, like that's not something you have to worry about. Like he'll wear a light up pair of Spider-Man shoes and be
Uh,
just as happy,
Mhm.
yeah.
as the next 2-year-old who got on a pair of Jordans. Doesn't
Yep.
matter. But when
He
you
can
get to
wear
that
them.
age and you're more impressionable, and kids are mean, let's be real,
Yeah.
you know. So it's even difficult as a parent. I find myself, like my sister said, I'm a sucker. I'm gonna buy the $60 shoes because I want him to be accepted.
Hmm.
But you also got to teach to be an individual. It's just a fine line. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
got to know where that line is at.
And that was kind of going to be my next question, or like kind of next topic, is how do you manage that fine line? Because because it's the same, I think at every level of parenthood, there is that fine line between wanting, it's natural, especially as a mother, you want to give your child what they want. Like
Of
you want,
course.
I never realized it now. Like when we were younger, my dad, anytime he would discipline us in any way, he would say the token line, like, this is hurting me more than it's hurting you, or something to that effect. And I'd be like, would you like to bet, sir? But now I totally understand, because like Trey's face, whenever I'm disciplining him, it literally breaks my heart to see him
Hmm.
sad or to hear him cry. But I'm just now that he's really needing discipline, like really truly on his way to being 3 years old, I just keep telling myself, like, this is my job. My job is to
Mhm.
prepare him, is to teach him. I can't give him his way all the time. I can't, like, I have to discipline him. So when they're at that age, when, like you said, Jocelyn, like, that feeling is, I think, familiar to all of us. Like we said, we remember being that age and just wanting to be accepted, just wanting to be fit in. But then you also know that's not always the best thing. Like you do need to be an individual. How do you toe that line? How do you say, okay, I'm gonna buy the $60 pair of shoes, but I'm not gonna do or allow you to do this? Like what kind of is your process, or do you have a process or a set of boundaries or rules that you go by to kind of help govern that?
Again, it's like riding the wave. Like I think we all know our kids. We know their emotions. We know their feelings. You know when your child is being genuine. You know when your child is being manipulative. You know when they're genuinely sad and when they're not, and when they just want it to want it. And once you really get to know those things, you can tell. So just by listening to them, oh mom, I need this because I need these shoes because they're the coolest shoes on the market. You want them because little Johnny has them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when you need to say yes and when you need to say no. And sometimes saying no, to Brianna's point, is going to hurt, you know, you more than it hurts them. But you'd
Hmm.
rather say no to them now and have them be mad at you versus be mad at you later for
Yeah,
letting them do whatever they want or just, do
yeah,
whatever to fit in.
that's true.
You just
How
got to listen to your kid. You know your kid.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I already am having to do that with Elijah because he's in the phase where he's every time we go to the store, he thinks he deserves a toy and
Mhm.
needs a toy. And just like Brianna, just like you said, like he'll get something brand new that he wanted, and then he'll see something else. And like, well, Elijah, you just got this new truck. His thing's trucks. Well, I don't want that truck anymore. I said, okay, well, we'll take it back to the store and you won't have anything.
mm,
Well, I don't want nothing then. Like, okay, well then you
Okay.
don't have anything. I mean, you have to make a
yeah,
choice, but it's not that you just get whatever you want all the time, because that it's setting them up for disappointment in the future.
Mhm.
mhm,
And it could be worse as they get older. They could get into things that they don't really need to be getting into, or expecting things that are just unrealistic, really.
Mhm.
yeah. And I had to remind myself of that a lot. Like, this is not the way the world works. So like and even though he's 2 years old and like memories start whenever they start, I don't know what he'll be able to remember and what he's not. But I do believe that the foundation is now. Like, I'm laying the foundation for
Yes,
when
ma'am.
he's 5 years old and starting kindergarten and 10 years old about to, go into middle school and so on and so forth. And I don't want to make it any harder on him than I know that it will already be, because growing up is hard.
It
Yes,
really
ma'am.
It's
is.
hard finding your place. And like, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and said she was listening to some podcast or reading a book, and she was saying that like, as adults, as parents, we just need to get comfortable with the fact that we're gonna fuck our kids up in one way or another. It doesn't mean that they're gonna be terrible or that they're gonna have this lifelong trauma, but like, we're still learning, we're ever evolving and growing as adults, and
Yeah.
still like learning and healing and becoming the best versions of ourselves. So, and there's no manual. Like,
And nobody's
There's no
perfect.
book.
and nobody's perfect. So
Mhm.
like, throw that out the window. Like, don't think that your kid's gonna come up at 18 and be like, everything was great. Like, they're gonna have
No.
issues. We all have issues. That's what makes us human. But there are things that we can do and things that we cannot do to help them, and just to be, like our parents used to tell us, like, I want you to be better than we were, or I want to do better for you than I did, my parents did for me, and so on and so forth. But that can be hard because, like you said, Erica, this a whole different, and Jocelyn, it's a whole different age. Like, our parents didn't have to deal with social
Different
media.
world.
Our parents didn't have to deal with the fact that I was just talking about this with my manager and my coworker a couple of days ago. When we were younger and our parents told us something, if we wanted to refute what they told us, we had to go like look it up in a dictionary and encyclopedia. If
Mhm.
our kids ask us a question now, well, not ours, Erica, but
Yeah.
if Isaiah asks you something now and you give him an answer, he can go find out right now if you're telling the truth, or go get a second opinion on the internet.
Oh
Like,
yeah, he can find any side he wants on the
He
yes,
probably
internet.
already looked it up before he asked me.
Right.
exactly. So like, how do you, again, like, how do you have those tough conversations? Like, my bonus son, who Isaiah plays with a lot, Jaden, Trey's older brother, came into the room a couple weekends ago when they were here. He was trying to change his profile on Disney Plus, and the options are male, female, or non-binary. So we came into the room where me and his dad were, and they were like, guys, he was like, what's non-binary? And I looked at Eric. I was like, "You want to take this one? Or you want
Right.
me
Just on you, bro.
and Eric was like, "You could take it." And I just, I tried my best to explain it within my own, bounds of understanding. But then it was like, how much do I say? How much do I not say? Because he can easily go get his phone and just Google it himself.
Mhm.
So I can't. It's like when we were younger, and it's like, where do babies come from? And they're like, oh, the stork, baby. And we just grow up believing that shit until we learn something different.
Right.
If
So we
I
hit
tell
health
this
class.
man exactly, and then they traumatize you, because in health
Right.
class they go all
They
in,
just,
no
they just
buffer,
lay it
nothing.
out, no warning.
None at all.
You're like, you lied to me. There's
I'm
no
never having kids.
fault.
Right.
And look at us
So
now.
how do
Okay.
we, as parents, like, how do you, one, manage your child's access to that information, especially when you said, Jocelyn, it's everywhere. It's in school. Like, they're gonna have a tablet, they're gonna have a computer, they're gonna know the internet, because that's how, education is set up now. But then two, it goes back to that, like, you want your kid to fit in. So yeah, most kids do get a cell phone at a certain age, and then like all of the parental controls and just all of the access. How do you, in today's day and age, how do you deal with that? Because that's something that our parents didn't have to deal with.
Very, very big on boundaries. You can have the you can't avoid the technology and the digital world that we live in, but there has to be a boundary. You're only 10 years old. His cell phone, which he's had since he was 7, is locked down. Like, if you want to get online, YouTube, did anything you want to do on that phone, you have to send me a request, and I can either approve or deny it. Therefore, I'm in control of what you watch and when. You know what I'm saying? With the TVs and the PS5 and all these game systems, I'm in control. You need a password for everything. Yeah, you have access to it, but at my discretion. You know what I mean? Because I'd rather him come to me with his questions versus see it online first, believe that, and think that's how it works. And then, as far as you asked, how do I manage how much I tell and how much he knows? I'm also very big on honesty. Like, I'm not going to tell him babies come from the store. I'm going to tell them the truth in an age appropriate manner and tell you exactly what you need to know for your age. And then as you get older, I'll tell you more. but it's not just a free, you can't just cut them loose on the internet, because no, the wrong information will fall into their hands.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And we fall into black holes on the internet. I was I was on somebody's story the other day, like a mutual friend of me and my cousin Ashley, who's been on the show before. And before I know it, I was on her page all the way back to her first Instagram post, texting her, girl, this hair, this, da, da, da. It's like, how did I get here? Like, we can so easily go into this stream on the internet and wind up someplace where we have no business. And for a child, like those videos of other kids playing with toys, I gave Trey my old iPad. I had YouTube Kids set up, put all the parental controls on it, everything, and I sat him down. He was watching like Gracie's Corner or Baby Shark. He was watching something that I was okay with. 10 minutes later, I come in and he's watching some lady like with these surprise eggs and Paw Patrol's pocket out. I was like, how
Elijah, the same thing. Because they learn how to scroll real quick.
Yes.
Elijah will be watching something and scrolling at the same time and just trying to find something. I need to find something to watch. I'm like, what are you talking about, boy? I told you what you need to watch.
Yeah.
And we'll have a full-on tantrum when I tell him he can't watch something.
Yes, it's Trey's new phrase is probably I'm mad. Probably I'm mad. I said, oh, he's either mad or sad. I said, oh, you're mad? Yeah. Why are you mad? I don't know, but probably I'm mad because I can't. Although I'm softening with those videos because I had to put it in perspective. I was like, well, you do spend an amount of time I'm not willing to admit on this podcast on Instagram watching people do everyday shit. So I feel like them watching kids play with toys is kind of like the same thing as me watching this girl put her makeup on or clean
her house or something.
Right. This guy restore a pool. Like I'm really into pool guy. So I've let those videos slide a little bit when they're age appropriate, but it's still that fine line. And I guess what I'm learning now, Jocelyn, in this conversation with you, I don't think that line ever goes away. It's just what you're towing changes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to change with their age. It's going to change with their, as they get smarter. And these kids are smart. Like you said, you put them on one video, you come back, they're on a whole different side of YouTube.
Yeah.
Isaiah was watching one thing, then I come in and it's something wildly inappropriate. I'm like, how did you get over there? And that's
the other thing, because YouTube with the algorithms and stuff, they just start suggesting videos, and it's like I'm not okay with him watching this. But the more they scroll and the more they click, the more they go deeper into the rabbit hole of it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Jocelyn, I'm sure you probably have to deal with as well is like at our kids' ages, they're not going and looking at each other's phones and stuff like that. But Isaiah with his friends and stuff, I'm sure you have to worry about his friends not having that type of those type of boundaries set and parental controls. Have you ever had any instances where it's like he's seen something he probably shouldn't have because of one of his friends?
Oh yes, ma'am. And I'm very big on they can come over here. You can't go over there. Certain friends, sure, but like these friends he's met at school, they Isaiah, like Briana, you talked about how Trey comes home and says, oh, I got friends, but he's not really talking about these people at home. He's just kind of repeating what he's hearing. Well, Isaiah, it's my friends this, my friends that, and now they have names. I'm not going to name them, but can they come over? Can I play outside? He's playing outside with kids in the neighborhood. Then he shows up with 5 boys at the door. Can my friends come in? Sure, because I'd rather you be here than out there. And so I'm overhearing their conversation, wildly inappropriate. It's like, what? Are there no boundaries? Like, I've never met your mom and you're like over here, so yeah, they're scrolling through TikTok, and TikTok is not for kids anymore.
It's really not.
I'm
hearing what playing on TikTok, I'm like, this is absolutely not appropriate.
I think that's another thing too. And I think it comes kind of into play at Trey and Elijah's age, but I think it really comes into play at the age where Isaiah is when you and another child, like we all know every mom is different. Everybody has a different parenting style, but you'll meet another mother and just don't agree with the way that they parent their child. And you, even at this age, Trey pretty much basically hangs out with like family members' kids and my close friends' kids. So I don't have that issue, but like we took him someplace to play indoors the other day, like an indoor playground. And it was this like little boy that was wanting to go down the slide and was like pushing all of the other kids away, like wouldn't let any of the other kids use this slide because he wanted to wait until the perfect time. And this boy's mom like didn't do anything. She was sitting in the chair by the door, like on her phone, letting her kids just run around. They couldn't have been that much older than Elijah, probably like 5 at the most, probably more like 3 or 4. So I'm like, you gonna get your kid or not? So I
Right.
feel like that whole, I like, to your point, Isaiah's like, oh, this is my friend, this is my friend, this is my friend. But you're seeing either behaviors in the child, or you do meet the parents and you kind of get a glimpse into their parenting style. And you're like, I don't really know if I want you around this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you then, especially like you said, because at his age that's all he wants is to have friends, feel like he's accepted, like he's part of a cool crew, and then you're telling him like your friends, actually I don't agree with you hanging out with kids that say certain things or watch certain things. Have you had to kind of like not deter him away, but have you had to maybe tell him like maybe that's not a good friend for you, or like have that conversation with him, or has he realized it on his own, and have you had to kind of like help him through that moment?
Isaiah is very, very persistent. Something I admire about him. He'll listen to what you have to say, but Isaiah needs to experience it before he sort of sees that I was right. So I've definitely had an experience with quite a few of his friends who I've say, well, Isaiah, if they're treating you mean, that's not a friend. If they're taking from you, that's not a friend. If they're saying do this or I'm gonna do that, that's not giving you ultimatums, that's not a friend. But mom, he'll say, but mom, but they are my friends, he's really cool. And then 5 days later he'll come home and say, oh, so and so was really mean to me today. I'm not his friend anymore. You kind of have to let them experience it on their own. Yeah, because when parents are telling you something, it's just kind of like wah wah wah. They hear you, but they don't want to hear that right now because all they know is that they have a friend. That's my friend, and I'm good. But they're going to experience it on their own. They're going to say, you know what, mom was right, and that's fine because then next time they'll know.
Yeah.
So it's hard because you don't want to take that bond with whoever away from them, but you also want to protect your baby from being hurt.
Yeah, I think that's hard. The hardest part is like watching them. And I think that's parenthood in general. At every phase, you got to watch them fall. From the time that they literally start physically walking and, falling and having to pick themselves up. You have to do that at every age. And just kind of be there for them when they come back with their tail between their legs, like,
you just love them. And Briana, like, for example, you bought him for his birthday, you bought him like a V-Bucks card or something for PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, I gave my V-Bucks card to my friend, so-and-so. Why did you do that? Well, he said he wouldn't be my friend if I didn't give it to him. I said, honey, that's not a friend. He's my friend, Ma. I said, no, that's not a friend. Friend wouldn't do that. 5 days later, so-and-so was mean to me. We're not friends. Okay. You learn the hard way, but you learn.
Yeah.
And that's the only way most of us are able to learn. Because I know for sure, I remember my mom telling me certain things or having certain feelings towards certain friends, and I'm like, Mom, but you don't know. I mean, what do you know? You're old, and then you find out sooner rather than later that they were right, and you have to let them learn on their own, because you also want them to be able to experience things, because if they go around just listening to what you're saying, they're not really living their own life.
Yeah, they do have to build their own way. And it starts even younger than that, but it definitely, I think, really starts at that age. I was actually telling Isaiah a few months ago that, when you get to middle school, it's really different. I was like, you're not sitting in one classroom all day with the same teacher. You get to choose some of your classes, just like letting him know, because I think kids don't realize, like, middle school and high school, as ridiculous as it was some of the best times, like even still as an adult, like some of the friendships that I made, even though they didn't necessarily last, like the memories that we made at that age, like they help shape your personality. And of course you go through like real things the older that you get and the more responsibility that you have, and you have to be out here in the world for real. But I was just trying to get him, like, he was like, wait, really? Like his ears kind of perked up, like, wait, tell me more. I'm like, yeah, you get to pick your classes. And then when you get to high school, you get to join all these clubs and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, because I feel like for kids, it's like, going to school is like the worst thing in the world. And like, they just want to do what they want to do and they want to hang out with their friends. And was just, I picked him up from school and I was just kind of trying to tell him, like, it gets better, bro. Like, it's going to be.
He is
better.
not a school fan, so
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, like, how have you because the whole, like, school thing, again, I'm not there yet because my child is only 2. I try to do stuff with him at home to, like, prep him for school, but I'll even ask you, Eric, and I know we've talked about it a little bit with Elijah in, like, actual high school or high school, preschool now.
Yeah.
But how is it with school? Like you said, the curriculum is totally different. So, like, helping with homework and just, like, keeping him encouraged to get up every day. Like, I guess, what's the biggest difference from, age 2 and 3 when, you might have to get them up every day just to go to daycare versus getting them up every day to go to school and then having to make sure that there's homework done and just like that hustle and bustle of them actually low key having a job. Like, school
Mhm.
is like they're in there for like 8, 9 hours a day. That's low key a job. And then there's like take home work too. So how was that transition from when he was like Trey and Elijah's age to now? And even
it's a,
when he first started.
it's a second job. I'm not even gonna lie to you. When Isaiah was smaller, going to preschool and kindergarten, what it was maybe like a half day. You got him up, you got him fed, you got him there, and you knew it was really like mostly play based. There's not really much curriculum. They're not really doing anything but learning colors, sight words, and then playing with friends. And then they come home, and there's no homework, nothing like that. You reinforce the basics at home. As they age and they go to second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, that's when the real work begins, and it really is like a second job. You got to make sure they're getting enough sleep. You got to be sharp with your stuff because you got to help with homework, and you got to help with projects and spirit week, and send them, you know what I mean, and make sure that they
Yeah.
got all the right stuff. And it's really like going back to school all over again, except you're not in class. It's
Mm,
hard to do, but you gotta make lists, you gotta make schedules, use your calendar, you gotta stay on point because it really is like a second job.
mm,
Especially if they're not a fan of school, like Isaiah, I really have to motivate him. I gotta speak positive. It's gonna be a great day, Zay. It's gonna be a great week. Make good choices. Have a great day.
yeah.
Just to
Mhm.
try to give him a positive attitude. He doesn't want to go anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like the pep talk
it's
we have to
tough.
give ourselves for work. Like, all right,
Listen.
gonna
Yeah.
be good. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna do my job. And I think that that's really when it starts. Like looking back, I was like, that's really what it is. Like I could probably have a better routine. I could have a better routine, but I think that that's you lay the foundation now, like just for it to
Mhm.
be so automatic so that when he's like 18, 19, 20 years old, those little things that get him set up to have a good day won't be things he has to think about or things that
Mhm.
he has to try to do. They're just intrinsic to him. They're things that he wakes up and just automatically does, just like, breathing or blinking. But to your point, Jocelyn, that requires usually the moms to
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
you have to be double down on your shit now because I'm even learning that now with Trey. The past few months have just been kind of crazy for me, adjusting to a new role at work and just other things going on where I used to have a very consistent bedtime and a very consistent like wake up time. Now there's like a 30-minute sliding window for each, which is okay, but I'm noticing just little changes, and I'm like, "Okay, I have to get better," because kids thrive on routine, but
They
in order
do.
to get his routine straight, I gotta get my routine straight, which
Mhm.
I have to make some changes for myself while still doing everything that I have to do for him, so it is really, really hard, and he can't really, like, protest or have opinions or thoughts or like, he does, he's starting to now, but it's nowhere near like a 10-year-old. So how do you
Child.
balance that as well? Because I would assume that you want him to assert his independence. You want him to feel like he can have an opinion and thoughts, but at the same time, like you said, you lay the groundwork, you lay the rules, you are the mother. So what's kind of your philosophy on still being the disciplinarian, still being his parent, still telling him what to do versus giving him a choice with things and listening and like hanging out and being his friend?
There are certain things that are not optional. They're not up for discussion, and there's no argument. You know what I mean? That there's certain things that are mandatory. Like you said, we're on routine. This is what we're doing. Because if you don't do these things and you don't stay within your routine, it's going to cause problems for you at school. It's going to throw you off. It's going to throw your attitude off, your mood. You got to stay in order on certain things. But again, there's that fine line, and you got to know how to toe that line. You always got to show them love, You got to spend time with them, like you said too. You're always the parent. You're not their friend, but you also want to make sure that they feel safe enough to come to you with anything, and that I know my mom's always going to be there, no matter what. Even if I have a bad day or if I make a mistake, I know I can go to my mom. You know. So there's two sides to it. There's the disciplinarian. There's the no discussion. This is what it is, and then there's the nurturing side. You have to make sure that both sides are kind of equal. Maybe sometimes one is a little bit more than the other, but they both have to be there. And they're both important.
Yeah, and I'm sure it kind of varies not only by situation but by age, because I know with Elijah, he's only in preschool, but like I said, he has homework, and he already, I mean, it's a real test of my patience working through his homework. And literally his homework is just writing. He has to write his letters, and it's just basically tracing. But he wants to be silly. He wants to play around. He wants to. Now his new thing is, oh, I'm hot. You're not hot, Elijah. I'm cold. I'm so tired. I need to lay down. It's all these different things, and it takes everything in me not to flip my shit on him. But he's 3 years old, and I don't want him to have a bad connotation with doing homework, because you're 3, you're gonna be doing homework for some years,
a long time, brother.
And this program that he's in is a preschool, but they're more of an advanced kind of program, so they're setting him up to get used to having to do all of that. And there's many a nights I'm like, okay, Elijah, I checked your backpack, you have homework. I don't have homework. Miss Brown said I don't have homework. And I have to tell them, listen, and I've had to, sometimes you got to bribe them. I have to tell them, you want your ice cream sandwich, you can have it after you do your homework. But if homework doesn't get done, we're going to bed with nothing. So it's definitely, I'm already having to do the same thing as you, Jocelyn, in a much, simpler format for a 3-year-old. But it's difficult. It's hard because I don't like to see him upset or see him get frustrated with saying like, I can't do it, or I don't know how to do it, even though I really know he can. It's me having to remember he's learning, just like you said before, Briana, and it's my job to teach him and reinforce him and let him know that, like, the more you practice, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And I have to continually praise him and also teach himself how to praise himself.
Yes.
He can speak those positive words into himself, even at 3 years old.
Yes. I think that's so important, especially for little Black boys. Like I've started doing affirmations in the car with Trey every morning because we switched his daycare, and I don't know if I haven't been able to figure out if it's like legit or not, but he every morning whines or cries when we drop him off.
He's still
every
doing
morning.
it.
Yeah, he's getting a little better, and I'm starting to think that now when he does it, it is more of an act, because he'll be totally fine until we get to the door of his classroom, and then he'll start whining. But then his teachers all say the same thing, like as soon as 5 minutes after I leave, he's fine. So I have started this affirmation in the morning. I'm strong, I am smart, I am handsome, I'm brave, I'm courageous, I'm capable, and I'm going to have a great day at school today. Sometimes he'll say the whole thing and he won't repeat the I'm going to have a great day at school today part. We kind of fight for that part, and then we do like a little fist bump, and then he's okay. But I'm, to your point, Aryka, like I think it's so important for them to praise themselves and not always rely on outside praise, because I think we as people, like Jocelyn, you talked about validation. Yes, everyone wants to be validated, but it's most important that you're able to validate yourself, because I know as a young man, a young Black man, I know he's going to be in some situations where he may not be able to get validation outside. So he needs to be able to walk within himself and say, I'm proud of myself. Or maybe I didn't do my best, but that's okay. Like, and be able to have that positive self-talk. And it does start now. Like now, what you were saying too, Aryka, it's not with the school stuff, just with more like regular things I'm trying to teach him, like with potty training. Oh, he's trying to get his underwear down, and he's like, oh, I can't do it.
Elijah still does that.
Do it. And I want to just go in and do it for him, because that's just how I am as a person, one, but also just as his mom, and I want to see him struggle. But I'm like, no, you can do it. Maybe start with your hands first, and like trying to walk him through. And then when he gets it down, yay, I'm so proud of you. Aren't you proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Can you say
that's the major thing? Yeah.
So again, it just sounds like that starts now and it carries on, and sounds like it is really important, especially even at school age, because that's when the outside influences really start to come in and I think make a difference. I think there's outside influences obviously at every age, but the older they get, the less control we have over where they spend
Yes,
their
ma'am.
time
For
and the
sure.
spaces that they spend their time in. So that's when like the fruits of our labor, of that validation, of those boundaries, of that discipline, of that nurturing, that's when it all shows up. And I
Mhm.
think, with everything you've shared today, Jocelyn, I think that it really starts to show up around that age, right when they're on that cusp of, I feel like middle school is when you start to get your little taste of freedom.
Oh,
Like,
yes, ma'am.
yeah,
And like
like,
you said, laying the foundation at such an early age is super duper important. That way they're able to navigate things better when they're on that cusp of, going to middle school and then eventually high school. If
mhm,
they have that foundation, they already have the tools to work through things and to validate themselves and be confident and all that stuff and be an individual, then they'll be better off in the
yeah.
long run.
Yeah, definitely. So I have one last question. What is your favorite part about being a mother to a 10-year-old son? What's the best part?
Honestly, I feel like he keeps me young and hip. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. Like he's
You
he's
are young.
he's a really no, but sometimes I feel old. The fact that like these 2000 babies are like 18 or 21 already, like I
Girl.
Oh,
can't.
that's
You know what
wild.
I'm saying? Like I feel old. So I'm a 90s baby. I was born in 1990, but like my son keeps me on point. Like he's a hip kid. He's always researching the next best thing. He keeps me on point. So I feel young and hip with him. And
What's the
then
newest thing he's put you on?
this application called Blender. He likes to make movies and record
Mhm.
films and animate. So he managed to research this free program. He downloaded it on my computer without my permission, by the way. And he's been animating and making films. And I'm like, how
Oh
did you do
wow.
that? Yeah,
That's
and then
so
he like
cool.
built a video game and like coded it. I'm like, dude, you're a
That's really
genius.
cool.
I had
Yeah,
no idea you could do that without like being at like did the Disney studio. So apparently you can.
that's so dope.
These kids are good with technology. Very
Mm-hmm.
good with technology.
I'm like, I get on my computer. I'm like, what is this? Oh, that's my movie. Don't save it for me. I'm like, what? Okay,
Just casually. I just made a
right.
quick movie while you were asleep.
Downloading stuff while
Hilarious.
I was asleep.
I love that. That's so good. Well, thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being a guest. This was amazing. I
Yes, and very informative.
Yes, I mean, even though obviously I know you and I know Isaiah because he's my nephew, but this was really informative for me and helpful. Even I think that there's lessons, like we said, that I can take from what you're doing now with a 10-year-old and apply them to my 2-year-old. So that hopefully
Yeah.
when
Definitely.
he is 10, it'll be smoother for the both of us. But who knows? By then we might be living in space or something. It'll
I
be a whole
swear, flying cars.
It
Are you
seems
ready?
like it.
I'm really not. I'm really not. But I mean, I don't have a choice because he was just in my belly, it seems like last week. And now he's, 2.5. And mom, I want popcorn. I want popcorn, mom. I want
You
popcorn.
blink and they're like older. You know what I mean? Like
When
it's
Isaiah
crazy.
was Trey's age. And
Hmm.
now he's like, auntie, so I'm coding this game. And I'm like, I don't know.
What? Huh? You were
Right?
just a baby.
Yeah,
Right.
he
You be
was
talking
literally
and it's
just
just like I don't even know what you're talking about, but it sounds really cool.
yeah, he's so intelligent, so smart. You're such a great mom. He's such a great kid. And thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom that you've learned, not only on the podcast, but with me all the time and with Trey, because you're such a great, he loves his auntie. She's almost like more popular than I am. Like when
Well,
she
That's
yeah,
because
because
your mom, of course.
there,
mom has to, also discipline.
yeah,
So
Right.
that's true. He's like, I want my auntie. I want my auntie. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's call your auntie then. Not a problem. Maybe she'll come hit you.
mhm.
I
But
appreciate you guys for having me.
of
Yes,
course,
thank you
we
so
want you to come
much.
back anytime. This was great. And yeah, until next time, you guys tune in. Of course, you can always catch us on Instagram and on YouTube at Shit Your Mama Ain't Tell You. We will be back with more episodes next week. But take care, everybody.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
All right. Bye bye.